going to talk about the 4 levers of growth. Okay. And having worked with thousands of people over the last 10 years, we have learned that many of the success stories of those amazing before and after pics really come from one word: consistency. But consistency of what? It is quite literally executing your plan, not somebody else's or some templated approach, but your plan. And before I get into the 4-level approach, I'm going to cover the biggest mistakes that everyone makes at some point in their life, or unfortunately, trainers' careers. So quick facts on fat loss. You actually don't lose fat cells. You got to think of your fat cells as balloons, all right? In a fat loss phase, we are trying to shrink those balloons and shrink the size of those balloons. And the only way to get rid of fat cells is liposuction. So after a fat loss phase, your body is actually primed to not only regain the size of those fat cells, but your body is actually more likely to add new fat cells in a process called body fat overshooting. Any chance I get to put in, Steve, it's going in. So there's good news. Hashtag science. So understanding the process of body fat overshooting will allow you to avoid the mistake that 99% of people and most trainers, especially in this town, make every single day. So body fat overshooting is a process based in the set point theory, where your body wants to remain where it's at today because it's easy, it's sustainable, right? So if you go through a fat loss phase, especially an aggressive, short-term, hard one, your body wants to get back to where it was a short time ago, right? So your body has a set point, and any derivative or movement from that, it's going to want to get back to it. So the more weight you lose, the more likely you are to gain that weight back, plus more when you started. And this is literally the experience of most people with the yo-yo dieting, losing the same 10 to 20 pounds every single year. And the data and the research really kind of shows this, and really comes down to, and we're going to cover about how we can avoid this, because how you lose your weight is imperative. Short-term challenges don't work. The amount of times we've done 6-week challenges, people see great success in the short term, and then they fall off afterwards because they don't really have a plan after, right? We've seen 15, 20, 25, 30. The record for 6-week challenge that we've ever done was 38 pounds in 6 weeks. So starving yourself or simply cutting out carbs doesn't work. As the moment you reintroduce carbs or food, you're going to gain all that weight back. Because most of the weight you lose in a short-term carb removal diet is just water weight. So having a plan in place after your fat loss phase is the actual determining factor for long-term fat loss success, because nobody wants to live that yo-yo weight loss life. So this is why having a long-term perspective and plan that accounts for the different phases of the body needs to go in the long term is what's going to guarantee success. So what are those phases? Phase 1 is metabolic restoration. The idea here is you want to prime your metabolism for fat loss. Most people, when they come in to sign up with OC at the beginning, they want to lose weight like yesterday. And depending on your particular specific journey, you might not be quite ready for the next phase, which is fat loss phase. This is also, for us, it's a retraction phase. Think retraction, shrinking, coming back smaller, right? So oftentimes people come in wanting to lose fat right away, but realistically their body isn't in a fat loss phase because phase 1, metabolic restoration, hasn't happened, right? So we focus on building up your metabolism again. So once your metabolism is dialed, ready to go, you're in fat loss phase. Phase 3 is the recovery phase, right? This is the phase in which you allow your body to get back and reach homeostasis and readjust to the new body weight. In essence, you're trying to trick your body into readjusting to the new set point that you are at today. So oftentimes you think you go on a 6-week challenge, you consistently follow your meal plan, hit all your workouts, lose 20 pounds, and then fall off and go right back to what you did before. You stop working out, go back to maybe slowly eating, the same amount of foods you were doing before, and then slowly you're going to regain all the weight, right? because you haven't allowed, you're just repeating all the same mistakes you did before, but you're also not allowing your body to readjust to the new body weight that you're at. And as a general rule, this phase could take the equal amount of time in which that you've lost your weight. So if you do a 6-week weight loss, particularly specifically, you'll be in at least a 4 to 5, probably 6-week recovery phase. Building phase. This is everyone's favorite. This is where we train lots, eat lots, and kind of see and grow that lean muscle tissue, right? And the idea here is you want to increase your basal metabolic rate to set up the next fat loss phase. Because realistically, most people that come in to do their first fat loss phase successfully, you're still not at that real goal that we want to get to, right? Losing 10, 15 pounds sounds great, and that's awesome and totally doable. But realistically, we all want to get to that bigger mountain, right? So we start at climbing Knox, and then we're going to get to Everest. Fifth phase, this is a sustain phase. This is where you allow your body to stay and remain in homeostasis, because a fat loss phase or a building phase puts a lot of stress and strain on the body. And we can't be in those phases constantly. And unfortunately, we see that all the time. So particularly those people that aren't ready for a fat loss phase, and we need to focus on phase 1, they have been in a fat loss phase where they're eating 1,000 calories, 1,200 calories a day for years. And what happens there is your basal metabolic rate will drop. So again, once you're primed and ready to go, then fat loss happens. So, and just to make things a little bit more complicated, your workout routine needs to adjust to the different phases you are in. So in 2 minutes, we'll get to the 4 levers. I promise I'm not going to spend too much time on this presentation for you guys, but let's talk about how not to do this. Most coaches get people to lose, quote, fat, and I'm putting fat there because it's not fat you're actually losing, in 1 of 2 ways. Number 1 is you do more, eat less, or you cut out carbs, fun, rainbow, and everything in between. So the whole do more, eat less, typically this takes the form of adding 1 to 2 hours of cardio every day, in addition to your regular workout routine. Now, the second thing we generally see is people doing or adding crazy HIIT workouts. Think those crazy CrossFit Metcons that are 30, 40, 60 minutes, where you feel great the first 3 minutes, and then slowly it gets worse and worse and worse. So you can barely pull yourself off the floor doing a burpee, right? That is by far the wrong way, because you're adding too much stress to the body. So a lot of people will add, even on top of that, those extra cardio sessions, like I said, on top of that, on top of those crazy HIIT workouts. This leads people to overtraining, or let's be real, working out 2 or 3 hours a day just to lose a few pounds. And honestly, you don't need to do that. Does this work? Yes, until it doesn't, right? Like a car can drive with a flat tire until it can't. So this approach tends to work when we're younger, but after many bouts of undereating, overtraining, hormones and metabolism just kind of start dropping and not functioning appropriately, which means you're not primed for a fat loss phase. Cutting out carbs. So we quickly talked about it, and I don't want to spend too much time here, but this is often something that we hear all the time. Well, if I'm not seeing fat loss, let's just cut out some carbs. In the short term, any weight loss that occurs with the removal of carbs is temporary, and your weight loss is literally only going to be water. Because carbs, once broken down into their base molecule, it's a very large molecule. And through osmotic gradients, this large molecule, once it goes into the cell, brings water into the cell. So as soon as you cut out the carb and that molecule, water kind of will flow out of the cell. But the moment you have a cheat meal or you reintroduce carbs, that water is quickly absorbed back in the cell, and all that water weight comes back, and you're just left feeling like, shit, I didn't make any results. So, side note, if you have a coach that suggests removal of carbs just to lose weight, turn and run for the hills. So, this brings me almost to the end. The simple 4-level approach. Very simple. And I'm going to explain with science why this simple approach absolutely works. And we see it work time and time and time again. Because often people think that, if I'm nailing my workouts, and I'm good at my food like 80% of the time, I should be seeing results. And realistically, we need to be doing all 4 to guarantee. Like I said, in your 20s, you could work your ass off and train 6 days a week and see results. You can also be in your 20s and stay up drinking 4 nights a week, eating McDonald's, and still see results and have abs. That was me. So lever one, I hope you can see this. I hope my thing isn't in the way. 10 steps, 10,000 steps per day. That doesn't sound like much, and it really isn't, especially if you can implement, or if you have a dog, you can implement a walk at least once a day. And I don't mean, we're not talking like hiking up Knox. I mean, just walking through your neighborhood really makes a difference. I'm going to explain why in 2 seconds. Step 2, sleep 7 to 9 hours a night. Studies have shown that someone that sleeps 5 hours a night has the same level testosterone to that man that is 10 years older that sleeps 7 hours. So literally you can age yourself by 10 years by simply sleeping 2 hours less a night. So realistically, I say these are the 2 easiest things to do because we already do them. You sleep every night and you're eating and you walk every day. So it's just about optimizing what those are. Because because lever 1 and 2, steps and sleep, have a huge determinant of the calories your body burns every day. So the amount of calories you burn every day are based on these 4 different things. So as you can see, the bottom, you have your resting metabolic rate, also known as your BMR. So when you're in Body Machine, in the top right, if you've ever seen basal metabolic rate, there's a number put to it. So we can actually measure this based on your lean muscle tissue and your demographics, your age, height, weight, all that fun stuff. And we can see where it's at. As you can see, so this is the base amount of calories your body burns lying in bed or lying on the couch every day with no movement. As you can see, this is at least 50%. And some studies show it's actually 50. For some people, it can be up to 75% of your calories you burn every single day. The number one thing is going to be the amount of lean muscle tissue you have. So the more muscle you have, the higher your basal metabolic rate, or that red mark over here, is going to be. Thermic effect of eating meals. This is literally just the amount of calories it takes to burn fat or burn calories, or to break down your food in your body. So oftentimes a little trick we can do, again, this is like a small thing, but like your body will burn more calories breaking down protein than it will carbs or fat. So oftentimes we'll up protein relative to your recovery or sustained phase that you are in. NEAT, this is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This is a fancy way of saying all your movement that you do every single day that is not exercise. So this is your steps. This is you walking from your car to work, your car to your driveway, whatever, right? Any movement you do that is not exercise. And exercise at the top, which is funny because most people think, oh, I hit my workouts 4 days a week, 5 days a week. I'm doing all the activity I need or should be doing. As you can see, your basal metabolic rate and your non-exercise activities, your NEAT, makes up a huge chunk of what we're looking at. At minimum, we're looking at 75% of the calories you burn is going to be from your steps and from your basal metabolic rate. Now, you're going to say, well, what about sleep? How does that affect things? Well, sleep, again, is hormones, your ability to repair itself, which, again, is going to be your basal metabolic rate. You don't sleep good, you're not going to be producing hormones effectively, whether it's testosterone or whatever other hormones that can be going on. So that sleep is going to be the big one for BMR in the short term. And level 4, which will be your workouts in the long term, is actually going to affect your basal metabolic rate, because we would look to add more lean muscle tissue to increase your basal metabolic rate. The key is getting this peak of this bar graph as high as it possibly can get. Okay, so if you don't do your steps, and we've got lots of clients over the years that work at a desk that come 5 days a week, do amazing, like full effort, kill their workouts, but they only get 2,000 steps a day. And I've seen it time and time again where that particular person, if we add those 10,000 steps, we can punch through fat loss plateaus. Okay. In the short term, though, lever your workout. If we do kind of a little bit of structured HIIT work, not crazy, and we'll talk about the end, where we can kind of get the lasting effect of your body continually burning calories because of doing some HIIT work. But in the short term, your workout isn't going to be a big driver in this one as much as the long-term effect of, again, focusing on muscle building. Step 3 and 4, workouts and food, is where people mess things up most of the time. But why? To be honest, there's so much information out there right now. It's paralysis by analysis. You've got, different workout regimes. You've got CrossFit, you've got bodybuilding, you've got boot camp, you've got this, you got that. And it's often, or even like with food, it's even worse, right? Like carbs are bad, fats are bad, protein's bad, meat's bad, veggies are bad, everything's bad. So what do? You do nothing eventually, right? So it's very easy to get lost also in the specifics and the tactics on how to execute. Hence that's why people just let us take care of that for you, right? So your food intake and your exercise regime need to be built specifically to you based on where you are today, and knowing, more importantly, where you want to be in 3 or 6, 12 months from now. So if you don't know where you're at today and where you want to be in the future, then how are we ever going to get to somewhere where we're not sure where we want to get to? All right, so lever 3, this is going to be food. This is your magnitude of success. As you can see on the left-hand side, it kind of gives you a breakdown of what is going to find you success. And if you look at the literature on this, in the fat loss phase specifically, calories and protein are the #1 determinant of success. So the calories, which we are going to say, we'll talk about this in a second, is going to be the amount of food you're eating. And in a fat loss phase, you want to be in a deficit. If you're in a deficit, you'll be losing weight, assuming all things hormonally and recovery and everything's going well. Macros, this is your carbs, proteins, and fats. So, for example, you don't want to be super high carb in a fat loss, but you also don't necessarily need to be in a low carb either. You just don't want to be super high in carbs. But in a build where we're looking to add lean muscle tissue, then yes, carbs actually should be high. Food timing, this is when do you eat your carbs, proteins, before your workouts, after your workouts. Composition, this is just quality of food. Do you eat McDonald's? You know what? I proved in 2019, eating a Big Mac every single day, you can still lose weight and body fat. Did I smell good at the end of the month? Nope. But I absolutely lost 10 pounds and 5% body fat eating McDonald's every single day. A lot of times we rush to supplements and, should I need to take this supplement or this fat burner? But realistically, if you're not looking at, just looking at calories and macros, so for a fat loss phase, protein and calories is all that really matter. You're looking at a huge part of the pyramid, right? So if we're not hitting your calories 7 days a week, if you're not nailing your protein 7 days a week, look how small your triangle is going to be. And the biggest thing, take all this off to the left. Ignore that. If you're not doing it 7 days a week, you're just not going to see success. So we used to do a 6-week challenge years ago when we had a group fitness gym where we did, if you did 6 weeks and you lost 25 pounds or 6% body fat, you got your money back in 6 weeks. It was so successful. It was originally 20 pounds and 5% body fat, and I had to up it because I was giving so many refunds to people. And it was not that we did anything fancy. We were doing group fitness, and we did those 3 meals, 2 shakes that you see there, but there was only 3 plans. Of those 3 meals, 2 shake plans that we have now, we literally, I think we've got like 150 different ones of those with different macros. We literally had 3, but what was it that did it? It was adherence. People stuck to it. They had this big financial carrot that was hanging in front of their face, and they stuck to it. Why? Because they had this big thing, they're going to get all their money back, which is hilarious because in the end, they saw great results. But if they didn't stick around and didn't have a plan afterwards, all that great work and effort went to nothing. So knowing all this, think about all the different diets that are out there. My argument is all diets work the exact same. It's based on calories and macros. Well, that's it. So think. Keto. What do we do with keto? We remove carbs. When you remove carbs out of your diet, you're going to eat less calories. Because most people aren't just putting back in or replacing those calories you move. You're just literally not eating particularly processed carbohydrates like breads and muffins and cookies and all that fun stuff. So again, when you remove not just carb or when you remove any food thing, you're going to, or large food group, you're just going to see less calories coming in. And like we talked about earlier, if you remove carbs specifically, a lot of that's going to be water weight, especially in the short term. And this is why anyone that does keto for fat loss for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, they tend to get all the weight back and then some afterwards. All right. Intermittent fasting. What's this? You have a short window, typically 8 to 6 hours, 12 to 8, 12 to 6, where people eat. So what are you doing? You're literally just cutting out breakfast. You're cutting out a meal. That's it. So in the short term, you're literally just eating less calories. But in the long term, to implement an intermittent fasting protocol, you still need to hit your calories and you still need to hit your macros based on your goal, right? So if you're in a build particularly, it's going to be really hard to eat 3,000 to 5,000 calories a day if you can only got, a 6-hour window to hit. Paleo, this is literally the removal of processed foods. So people just are not grabbing those hyper-palatable, hypercalorically dense foods anymore. They're eating whole foods, earth-grown nutrients. So by nature, you're going to eat just less food. Vegan, no animal products. So that tends to eat less protein, generally speaking, because you can still eat the breads, you can still eat French fries, you can still eat all that fun stuff. But so tend to see, especially in the long term, is you're going to see a loss of muscle mass, which is a big challenge, especially when it comes back to what we talked about earlier with a low basal metabolic rate. If it fits your macros, this is just tracking all your food. This is a lot of stuff that we do at the gym with macros, right? You track all your food so that you eat the exact amount of calories you should. So if it's a weight loss is the goal, we're just eating less. So in the end, all diet works the same. You eat less food, you lose weight. Simple. So this brings us back to then why then would we cut out things that we love? So if for me, it's pizza, right? I love to eat pizza. We do pizza night with the kids every Saturday. So like I need to eat pizza or I'm not going to do it. Even right now, I'm going to cut. Michelle could probably attest. We probably had pizza 2 or 3 times in the last 3 weeks, right? The take home here is lose weight. You need to be in a calorie deficit. If you're not losing, you're not in a deficit, plain and simple. So those people that are eating 1,000 calories or 1,200 calories and you're still not losing weight, the chances are, technically, you're not in a deficit because you're not losing weight. The chances are the biggest issue is your basal metabolic rate is super low from either low muscle mass or just chronically under eating and overtraining for a long time. So that's where we come into that first phase of that. What was the first phase again? Metabolic restoration, right? So that's why we kind of get people into the metabolic restoration phase prior to the fat loss phase, if that is you. So food, getting to it. Everyone here, obviously part of the gym, we take a lot of this off your back, off your plate, so to speak, so that we just kind of go out and execute. And this is all different based on your current goal that you're at, the current phase in that goal. So if you're in a cutting phase or fat loss phase, you need to just be in a calorie deficit. Very simple. If you're in a building phase, you're looking to add lean muscle, you need to be in a calorie surplus, right? So think about it again. If you're building a wall, if you're the bricklayer, you can't build the wall without bricks. The food is the brick, the wall is your body and the muscle. So if you're in recovery, oftentimes it looks like a reverse diet where we're building you back up to sustain calories. This is just, you're not gaining, you're not losing, you're just humming along, feeling good. Second big thing to think about is your metabolic health. And we're all different in this regard. Are your hormones in check, right? Especially for men, we're a lot simple creatures. Where's your testosterone level at? And for all my male clients, I've had this long talk about testosterone, like total test, free test, and what that looks like. And this will be another talk for another day. We'll do a hormone training like this at some point here. Again, basal metabolic rate, we talked about that. Is that optimized? Do you have enough lean muscle tissue? Are we eating enough food? Are we sleeping enough? That sort of stuff. And like we talked about, the time preceding your fat loss phase, that is the metabolic restoration phase. What did you do beforehand? Have you been starving yourself? Were you in a build phase, etc.? Are you in a particularly stressful time of your life, a stressful season, a death, relationship, whatever, something stressful happening? Maybe it's not a good time to be doing a cut. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. What do we do? Generally speaking, super easy, 1 gram per pound of body weight. And then we just set your carbs and fat based on what you like to eat. So if you're someone like me that likes to eat pizza, you're probably going to eat a little bit more fat on certain days because if you have 4 slices of pizza, it's quite a lot of fat. If you're someone that likes to eat cereal and breads, maybe you just give yourself more carbs. Because at the end of the day, as long as you have your carbs and your calories and your protein dialed and set every day, in the end, literature shows time and time again, you are going to lose weight. So quickly summarize, again, set those calories that are going to put you in a deficit. If you're not losing, you're not in a deficit. We set your protein at a certain point at 1 gram per pound, and we set your carbs and fat based on what you like to eat. All right, now for the fun stuff. I promise, I think this is our second last slide. Your workout regime. Minimum 3 to 5 days a week of lifting weights. And this is all going to come down to what are you able to do based on your schedule of availability to do workouts. Again, can you train 3 hours a day and see results? Sure, but you don't need to. Absolutely not. So the focus, the minimum start, you have 3 to 5 days a week of lifting weights, right? This is that low intensity, low volume, right? We're looking at retaining muscle, right? So that minimum effective dose to feel good. You don't need to go for the chase the big pump and feel exhausted and dead. That actually might accomplish the opposite of what we're trying to accomplish. We're not looking for max lifts. We're not looking for a 3-rep max deadlift or anything like that. We're not doing crazy volumes. We're not looking for 5-6 sets of working reps, so 8 reps, and just going to failure every single set, right? Looking for maybe having 2 reps in reserve. So if we give you 8 reps, do a set that can do 8, maybe have 2 reps that you could have got, maybe you could have gone to 10. Optimize and minimize intensity. So we're not looking at CrossFit workouts. We're not looking to kill you. You shouldn't be just dying with your max heart rate for the whole hour session. HIIT work should be done short with adequate rest. So, like think the EMOMs where we do like 90 seconds to 3 minutes of work. If we do 90 seconds where your heart rate's getting right to the top, you're going to have a longer rest period. And this is what we want your heart rate to come back down and just feel good, right? You shouldn't be at a max heart rate for 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes. And then additionally, if you're able to get that 3 workouts minimum of weight training, then we can add additional cardio sessions if the above steps 1 and 2 are dialed in. And this is really on a need versus want. Are you someone that wants to and enjoys cardio? Then go for it. Honestly, add it. But minimize those sessions to 3 to 4 sessions a week, 45 to 50 minutes at super low intensity. Think walking, talking, pace. So I always have a good barometer of if you got a phone call, can you answer that phone call and continue your workout? If the answer is no, I'd have to stop my workout because I'd be out of breath and I couldn't hold the conversation. You're going too hard. This is the biggest problem that endurance people get into, and I call it the black hole of cardio, where you're going too hard, where your heart rate's too high, where you're not getting the benefits of aerobic training, which is in that 135 to 145 heart rate zone, and you're not going high enough to get to that max heart rate hit zone. So you're just in that kind of this black death area of just overtraining and working too hard when you don't need to. All right. So summary. Steps, 10,000 steps a day minimum. Sleep, 7 to 9 hours a night. Food, protein set at 1 gram per pound. And calories set to a deficit. Workouts, we focus on muscle and retention. And cardio as needed, but it is not a necessity. Now, if we do have a plateau and you're training 3 to 4 days a week, you're hitting your weights, and you're getting your 10,000 steps, you're sleeping good, and you have time, and we can add extra cardio for sure. But it's not generally, if we're hitting all 4 of those, generally speaking, and obviously your hormones are dialed in, then generally speaking, we're going to see results. That's all, folks. Does anybody have any questions? We'll open it up. There's a few people that are able to get through in the passcode. Any questions, comments, concerns? Just unmute yourself and jump in. Anybody? Somebody? Michelle, you got something? I hope you guys could hear me this whole time.
I don't have anything, but other than that beard looking awfully nice.
Nice. Yes, I got that done.
Yeah.
About an hour ago.
Cool.
Looking
all right, guys.
mighty
Well,
fine, babe.
I will have this recorded and I will upload this and send this in the Facebook group. But also we're building out our portal that our online academy for everybody. It's taking a little bit longer than we anticipated, but there will be a whole section of all these additional trainings in there. So if you want the replay, I will be uploading that and giving that to everybody as well. So if nobody has any other questions.
Thanks, mate. I don't have any questions, mate, but that was brilliant. Thank you.
Awesome.
Colin,
nice shirt.
did you get a haircut?
Yeah, I did. It's my Vegas haircut.
It looks good. Ready for Vegas.
Thank you. It's a bit grey, though.
I don't got any grays.
Say thank you. Looks great. Okay, have fun.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, guys. Well, thanks for coming on. We're gonna do this every Wednesday at this time. They'll always have the replay as well. But if you want to jump in the Q&A with that kind of stuff, only you guys will be jumping in. Clients will be jumping into the Q&A stuff. And if you have any other topics or specific questions or topics you want me to cover, let me know. I'm always needing help and suggestions for